In this video I want to talk about a kind of mental concept I have, which I call black and white, white and black, and I want to explain to you what it is, how it helps me kind of categorize the world and make decisions on various things. Alright, so it's basically what a whitelist and blacklist is. So a whitelist is allow all except the following. So you by default allow everything. So for example, in like maybe a video game server, but also a firewall, you allow all incoming traffic except the following IP addresses, for example. And a blacklist is of course the opposite, so, or the inverse rather. So you deny all by default except the following which are allowed. So this would be, for example, an SSH server. You want to deny all possible users, you want to deny everyone except for the user this or for the users this, that, and some other guy. So yeah. So I mean blacklist, whitelist. I mean you know what these are, I guess. So, and I kind of visualize it like this. So on the left we have like black and white. So we have like a white kind of circle, and in the middle, in the middle, it doesn't matter where it is, but I just drew it like that. So, and inside we have like a black circle, and white and black is the opposite. So black circle, in the middle we have like a white thing. And again, you can think of like firewalls, for example, and how this applies to that. But this also applies to various other, well, aspects of the world. So one thing I want to I apply this to, and I want to talk about, and sorry if my handwriting is kind of messy, I didn't zoom in enough, so but I will read everything out loud and explain everything. So on top it says vertical privacy in the past, and I mean vert is the abbreviation. I just abbreviated vertical with vert. So vertical privacy in the past was kind of like, well, if we think of like, again, government and the system and companies and whatnot. So these entities didn't know anything about you except for like a few things which they did. So again, in the other video I talked about, well, government didn't know anything about you except maybe that like you exist and roughly where you lived or something like that. And in the past, I don't mean like 50 years ago, I mean like 500 years ago, like something like that. So before the industrial age. But today it's more and more getting closer to, well, they quote unquote, the system knows everything about you except a few things that are still private. So maybe your thoughts or something like that. But this is also kind of disappearing. And here you can also like already see that this is not like a very precise concept. This is rather just a rough categorization and more of an, you could say, asymptotic view, rather than like a actual like literal like categorization that deals with facts and stuff like that. This is like, facts don't interest us here. This is like about abstract thinking and abstract categorization and about seeing where things are going and roughly being able to like judge stuff. And of course there's no like clear division between these two. And you can also like think about, well, how big are these inner circles, or how big are this, like, yeah, like how, like maybe you could say, well, there's still a lot of stuff that's actually private today, you could argue, of course, and yeah, I would agree, but in general, my point here is, with the whitelist, blacklist, with this concept, is that what counts here is like the default, like what's the default. And today we are moving further and further when it comes to privacy into a direction where the default is that the system knows. So yeah, okay. So we can also, for example, apply this to law in general. And I think maybe here it's even more like obvious. So on the left we have again law in the past, today like law today. And again, this doesn't really, like, this is not for a specific country or something like that, or like anything concrete, but this is just in general. And on the bottom we have nothing is regulated for like the white, so bottom left, for the white marked area. And in the middle we have this black, so black and white, and there it says except that which is. So in the past, again, like some 100 years ago, before the industrial age, nothing was really like regulated that strictly, except of course the things that were regulated. And on the right we have again law today, and there it's the opposite. So everything is regulated except that which isn't. And again, you might think, well, this is kind of the same, and of course, there is no like clear like distinction between. Like you can go like step by step from the one state to the other, and I mean this is what has happened, of course, in our world. But it's just about the kind of relationship between these two. You could even say these two sets, if you want to think about it like that. And again, today the rule is that everything is regulated, except of course the things that aren't. But we are moving further and further into that direction of this small circle getting even smaller, or rather of maybe the black outer circle increasing or something like that. So again, this is just a very, very rough like mental concept I have. I want to emphasize that. All right. Next up, this is like another example that kind of goes in the same direction. With this, it may be even more clear. So we have, because it's not like a past and present thing, but like two things that exist within the same time, you could say. And that's with business owner and employee. So on the left, business owner, on the right, employee. The business owner has to deal with everything in his business. I mean, he's the owner. He has full responsibility. Like everything that happens is his responsibility. Except, and this is the black circle in the middle, except the things which he delegates to others. And again, you might say, well, you can just delegate everything. Yes, of course. But in concept, it's still like there's all of the stuff that happens in his business is his responsibility. And when something new happens that he hasn't delegated yet, it's his responsibility to deal with it, even if that means that he hires someone to deal with it, you know. And on the right we have the employee, and the employee doesn't have to deal with anything. Like he has to deal with nothing except, of course, and that's the white circle in the middle, except of course the things which he has been hired for. So there's a clear set of tasks and of responsibilities and so on and so forth, and it doesn't increase even if the outer circle increases, if that makes sense. Yeah, so, alright, but again, these are all, and I think this is like one of the like more, I mean the other two are like very, very like abstract, but I think with this it may be even more clear. And you might think, well, how does this apply to like real life? Like how, like what could you use this for? And you might kind of laugh because this is kind of a very maybe extreme example. But so I wear glasses, like pretty much everyone nowadays, it seems like. And recently I have decided to, well, not wear glasses anymore by default. So this is where this applies also. So on the left we have I should have swapped these. So on the right we have like the normal state, you know. So if you wear glasses, if your eyes aren't that good, you typically wear them always. Except of course when you don't wear them. So that's the white circle in the middle. It says here, except when you don't need them. And the outer circle is marked with always wearing glasses. So this is kind of the default. Because of course normally like you would think, well, I always want to see like I always want to have good vision. But again, I decided to not do this anymore, and this was for like various reasons. But one of them was also this concept. But another one was I thought, well, if I always wear glasses, my eyes will not get any better because they have no, well, you could say incentive to do so. Because you always see sharp, you never have any like, they are not required to get better, is what I want to say maybe. So I decided to never wear glasses except when I need them. So when I need them is, for example, when I am, I don't know, programming something or generally on the computer, or when I'm driving a car, or, you know, this kind of stuff. But in general, I don't wear them anymore. So when I just, I don't know, do stuff around the house or walk somewhere or something like that, I don't wear them. And I mean, we can debate how smart it is, of course, but I just want to have this as an example for how this applies to like actual like practical things. And again, I mean, even if the time I wear glasses per day, for example, is greater than the time I don't wear them, this concept still applies. So you could think about the black, so on the left, the black inner circle increasing in size dramatically, so that there is, when we look at the area, that there's more black than white. But this concept would still apply, because by default, if something, like if the outer circle increases, the inner one doesn't. if that makes sense. I hope this makes sense. So I think this is this may be not really that, maybe that's not interesting for most people. But again, I have kind of taken this as a mental concept and applied it like to a lot of things actually. I mean, you could also apply this to like software, but with software, I think it's kind of, I found it because I thought about when I thought about what I would take as an example in this video. I thought about software and like free software and proprietary software, and of course with proprietary software, it's like, well, the user doesn't have any control except the control that the program gives him. So this would be like kind of white and black. So the black area is, well, he doesn't have any control, and the white area is, well, except the control the program allows him. So maybe some settings menu or something like that. But with free software, it's not really like, it's kind of hard to translate that into, or to see it through the lens of like black and white, because with free software, it's like all white because you have full control, in theory at least. So this was kind of, yeah, I didn't use it as an example, but you can kind of, if you want to, you can force it into this kind of concept, I guess. So yeah, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about. Again, this applies to a lot of things I found, and I think this is a good view to get, how should I say, to get most stuff right. Because in like most situations or most areas of life, it's not about like getting like everything right, but just about like getting the, how should I say, to like go in a good general direction, I would say. And I think this helps with that, because it kind of helps you to think in terms of, well, what's the default in this case, and what's the exception, or how should it be rather. And yeah. All right, so that's it. Have a nice day.